Hey, what's up, y'all? I know I was supposed to come on at 1 o'clock, but honey, shit happened. My name is Diamond Styles. I am the executive director of Black Trans Women's Inc. And I go live every Friday, but last Friday, everybody said we wanted to talk about Keep Sweet and wanted me to kind of review it and go over it and talk about it and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, so that's what we going to talk about. we going to talk about Keep Sweet. Hey, Gigi. Happy Juneteenth, everyone. Yes, Magic, Camille, Gigi. Hey, is this the 1 year anniversary or the 2 year anniversary? Is this the 1 year anniversary or 2 year anniversary of Juneteenth being a holiday? One or two? I can't remember. Is this the first one? 1 year? Yay. I was talking, you know, some of these niggas can be quite pessimistic and annoying. It's funny that we was talking about Afro pessimism the other day, but one element of pessimistic niggas that I hate is when people act like, oh, y'all just been celebrating Juneteenth um this year. Y'all just heard about it. No, sweetie. If you Google or if you traveled outside of your bubble, you will understand that Black people all across the country have had Juneteenth celebrations for a very, very long time. Particularly, one that I know for sure because it's in the Midwest, where I'm from, um, is Milwaukee. Milwaukee has had a Juneteenth celebration since like 1971. There was Juneteenth celebrations in Boston when I was growing up, and definitely in New York. Of course, it is a Texas thing. um, Definitely a Texas thing. When I was growing up, people would travel to celebrate Juneteenth in Texas. Like people, if you have family down here, you would come down during Juneteenth. It was three things that I remember that were kind of like Texas-based events: Juneteenth, um, Texas Relay, and um, these two happened at the same time. Splash, which is like Black Gay Pride, um, and um, and the Kappa Beach Party. These things usually happen at the same time, like first week of May. Kappa Beach Party and Splash usually was the same weekend, and it was popping, popping. Juneteenth, Texas Relay, and um, Splash and Kappa Beach Party. And Splash still goes on. Um, Texas Relay still goes on, and Juneteenth still goes on. And so, all across the country, people have been celebrating. Black folks have been celebrating Juneteenth. So don't make it seem like Black folks just started. Maybe the hunkies just started, but the Black folks been celebrating Juneteenth. Just so y'all know. Pride, a deeper love, pride, a deeper love, pride, a deeper love. Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's the power to give you the strength to survive. I don't know how to pronounce it. Is it Periton? Is that how you pronounce it? Hey, Periton. Perotin? Perotan. The country way to say it. Coco. Hey, Marissa. Hey, Joelle. Mm, 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 mm. All right. Mm, mm, mm. All right. So today, let's get right into it, honey. which I know I record Marsha's Plate on this on Sundays at 6 o'clock, and I don't want to rush this. All right, so this is a live chat review kind of situation on the documentary on Netflix called Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey. It is a well made, uh, comprehensive, and kind of expansive to me look at the polygamous group of fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. So I remember growing up here, anytime I hear Latter-day Saints, it just always, it just, of course, it gave me images of Mormons and Christianity. And I just thought it was a strange offshoot of Christianity. And I didn't know it was as deep and strange. I didn't know how far from Christian teachings it was until I got older. Like I didn't know that, like, what's his name? Is his name John Smith? Whatever, one of they founders. I didn't know that it was like a whole created mythology. Um, and this is a fun fact too. This is one of the only religions that roots started here, like in Americas. Most of our religions, they're like our dominant religions started elsewhere, whether it be Christianity started in the Middle East, and Muslim started in the Middle East, and all these kind of Africa. I keep saying Middle East, but that's all a part of Africa. Um, they like to separate it like it's not a part of Africa. So just because the whites go white. um, so, but and Latter Day Saints and all that kind of stuff started here in America. Like it started here. There's very few religions that say, "Oh, our roots are here." But as we know, it is no surprise that if a religion starts here, rooted in puritanical, woman hating, woman oppressing, anti-black ideology. That's kind of pretty much what you would expect any old religion rooted here, where it would come from. And it doesn't surprise me that it would manifest in that kind of way. Because if it's coming from that era of town, coming from that era, not era of town, era of this country's history, and they're fundamentalists and they're sticking to what the teachings were at the time, it is only expected that it would transform into this. Hey, Michelle. Modern day Quakers. Quakers was a little bit more liberal. Quakers, you know, they um they were a little bit less restrictive when it came to like accepting people. Quakers were the early anti-slavery people, like early people who wanted to abolish slavery. Quakers was the early people who were abolitionists. These people have some very racist elements to them. hmm So, Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. Let me see. So that was always interesting. I grew up in Indianapolis, and there was a Latter Day Saints church in where, right across the street from my house. Like when I looked at my window, when I looked out my window, I could see them, but it wasn't this far right. Fundamental, kind of the more um, closer to Christianity one. Um, so this documentary follows this. People keep calling it a cult, but if you calling this a cult, my nigga, you need to call the rest of this shit a cult because this is just people following their religion. And while it may be different than yours, this is, honey, this is what they believe, and they're not the only ones who do fanatical, fucking crazy shit for their religion. This is or have oppressive beliefs. So if honey, if this is a first of all, but anyway, they people be calling it a cult. This shit a cult too. The case out in Utah of Warren Jeff. So Warren Jeff is this self-professed prophet of the FLDS. FLDS is short for Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. Okay. So if I say FLDS, that's what I mean. So he's like a self or Jeff Warren Jeff is like this self-proclaimed prophet who orchestrated like these countless marriages for his believers, um and using kind of like he kind of like dangling the promise of eternal life and godhood in front of them. Now he didn't start this is how he was raised by his father. Jeff Warren Jeff's father, whose name is Roland, he started this shit. Like he started this whole I'm a prophet, I'm never gonna die shit. Um he like literally he this Warren Jeffs was raised in this. Yeah, Quakers were liberal. Remember Hannah House in Indy? I was part Hannah House in Indy. It was part of the Underground Railroad. Yes, Quakers was quite liberal. Yeah. So I don't want to say these people are Quakers. Also think of one of my ancestors married a Quaker. Yeah, I can believe that. Oh, I'm late to reply, but yes, you said it right. My name is you see so dirty and stink. Oh, but she's so dirty and spent a Latinx lady once yelled that out to someone in my neighborhood, but I'm here to about keep sleep. Great, gotcha. The Latter Day Saints took me and my sibling Christmas shopping one year because we were in the garden home one time during Christmas. Yes, 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 right. So, so the father, Roland, they start off the story, the docu series, explaining how um, the Latter Day Saints Church, the one in the city, started to not be sufficient for the guys who were wanting to marry multiple wives. Okay, um, they started to be not less into that, but they started to be like, the little multiple wife things is kind of weird. So the ones who wanted to keep multiple wives started to be like, we gonna separate and do our own thing. And so all of them went and created like this little area of their own denomination, basically denomination of this Mormon type of church, Latter Day Saint type of church, and they called themselves the fundamentalists because they wanted to establish themselves as we're doing it the right way, y'all are doing it this modern way. We supposed to have a million wives. We supposed to be doing it how we doing it, and y'all doing it some kind of modern way because the laws of the land is making it illegal for us to have all of our wives. So we about to go over here and create a whole little world. And so that's literally what Roland did. Roland pronounced himself as the prophet. They start following him, and he told them that he wouldn't die. He told them that he wouldn't die, and that when he did die, he would reincarnate into come back alive as a younger man. Okay, so he he has like a dozen motherfucking widows, like wives, when he actually does die. So imagine you live to like 80 something, right? And for decades you have married multiple women, raised children and other family, let other families be a part of this. Um, and you have raised them to believe that you are a prophet and you won't die and you will be born again, and you get to decide who gets to marry. Because you're the prophet, you're the one who gets to decide who is destined to be married to who. And so that he set it up to where, in order for you to get into the highest echelon of levels of heaven, you can get into heaven, but if you want to get into the higher echelon of heaven, you need to have at least 3 wives. So he's the one who is deciding whether the dudes in this community have 3 wives and which ones they have. So he's using that as leverage to get certain power. One of the certain powers that is if you got a business, you gotta either um, sign over your business to the church or to the entity of the church, or if he wants one of your daughters as a wife, he has to marry your daughters in order to get you a wife, for him to pick a wife for you. So this is a social structure within the religion that he's created, to where you do for me, I do for you. So they're trading wives like fucking currency. And he gets to decide, if you do what I tell you to do and follow me like you're supposed to follow me, I will bless you with your 3 wives. You feel what I'm saying? So one of the dudes who actually had an education, the problem was some people, the easier ones to control was the ones who didn't have an education. And this is why it's important to have an education and to really get your own mind and bearings about what's going on in the world. Because the less educated you are, the more people can control your mind and control your thought and control and shift how you think about the world and what you should be doing, and control you in an exploitative manner. But in order for you to build these kind of worlds, you have to have some people that got some sense. And so one of the guys was an engineer. He already had education. He already had a business. And so it was perfect because the business brought money in, but he was also a faithful follower because he wanted those wives. He wanted to live this particular lifestyle along with having his business and his patents and all that kind of stuff. So one of the things that he did was he was really trying to please Roland, the prophet. And but they kept pushing him out of the circle of the upper echelon because he only had 2 wives. And so one of his daughters get old enough. She gets, and when we say old enough, we are not talking about grown. These are teenage girls. And so when one of the daughters get old enough, she is supposed he wants one of them to he wants her to be one of his new wives, and he got a million a million wives. So the dude who only has 2 wives, her father, of course, when the prophet says, I want your daughter to marry me, that is seen as prestigious. It's seen as oh my God, like my daughter is going to be one of the wives of the prophet. So he's ready and willing to do it. She is ready and willing to do it, the little girl, because that is a prestigious position to be one of the prophet's wives. Like, oh my God, I'm going to be the wife of the prophet, not just some dude in the clan. I'm going to be one of the wives of the prophet. And so when this part of the story happens, this is when the girls now they're out of the clan, out of the cult. They're telling their stories of how they, how he slept with them, how, just their experience with him being their husband, and how they had to come in and kiss him. Like they had to stand in all his wives had to stand in a line outside of his door and come in and kiss his old ass just for adoration. Like line up, come in, kiss him goodnight. Mwah, 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 mwah. And one of the girls was like, I really hated being in line after these women kissing my husband, my other wives. It just didn't, it never felt right. But this is the only thing that I knew. And so it never felt right, but this is just what it was. And so in this era of the cult, like the women could dress how they wanted to dress. Like not how they wanted to dress. Let me correct that. They could be free to wear color, pattern, however they wanted to wear, long as they were covered up. So you can't be having your titties and thighs and ass out and be all tight and stuff like that. But you can wear different colors, ruffles. So all the ladies in this era of the cult, the fundamentalist cult, they got different bright colors. They also was having fun. It was about games. It just was a more lighthearted, time. Like Roland, the grandpa, Roland was about, everybody contributing to the culture, contributing to community, contributing, being happy, being fun, and you adoring your husbands. That was really what, in my mind, the way I look at it, he was more, of course, egotistical and megalomaniac. You have to be that to be this type of, to claim yourself as a prophet. But he wasn't evil with it. He was very, I don't want to, y'all know what I mean. I don't want to say evil in our terms maybe, but in their culture, he was more, I want everybody to be happy. Your job is to contribute to community. Your job is to, adore your husbands, take care of your husbands, take care of your children, take care of your fellow man. It was more on the lines of community building and happiness. So, y'all know he said he doesn't die. But honey, you 80 and you look like you about to die. And so the tea is, we know you, like people outside watching, we know you gonna die, my nigga, because humans die. It's just a matter of time. So he gets to the point where he's about to go out of the party. So his son, Warren, Warren starts to be this to his father, this like charismatic person. He could sing. It was wild that they said they were never taught about what happened to women when they die, only that they were supposed to be wives. Of course, because it didn't matter. Um, so when he knows that he probably is about to die, like Roland, the grandfather, um, he starts grooming his son to be the prophet. Now, from what everybody's saying is that Warren wasn't really well liked. He was kind of annoying. He was arrogant. Did y'all? Well, what was funny is that part when Warren was singing. I was like, "Yeah, sing, Warren. Give us vocals." And everybody was like, he could, he could sing. He could, he was, but he was an asshole. People didn't really like him. He was like they didn't really fuck with him like that. But apparently the daddy saw something in him, and I can see why. The daddy saw something in him, and he wanted to kind of groom him into being the next prophet. And so, but this is also why holding on to the lie that I will never die. I thought his voice was cute. Warren's mama also was positioning her son to be close to him so she could hold power. Absolutely. That is, yes, Gigi. So, what was because Roland had three different wives, right? He had three wives, all of them having kids by him, blah, 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 blah. You know, like women do in these kind of situations, like um, Mother Terrell on Game of Thrones. You teach your girls how to maneuver this oppression, how to get in power, or you teach your boys how to get in power. As a mother, this is your job is and it's not always necessarily to secure your child. It's sometimes secure yourself in a position of power. I liked his voice. I liked his voice in that kind of way. It's hard for me to explain that. I liked his voice I don't know how to explain it. In that, it's like when you go to a white church and they're singing. I'm not expecting them to give me Karen Clark Shear. I'm not explaining. I'm not expecting them to give me that, but I can appreciate a nice voice in their style. I think he did have a nice voice in their style of singing. Mama was on her searchy shit, as it should be. And so sometimes mamas can put their position. Look, I know if you become the next motherfucking prophet and I'm your mama, you will care about me. You will care. I'll be still in a position of power to kind of maneuver and get favorable treatment. I don't want to be these low level ass fucking wives. so so that's what happens. So when he dies, these motherfuckers is distraught. And you can hear in the conversation of the people who are interviewed how it brings into question this immortality. I live. Sing Jesus is a love song. Sing it's a bomb and clearly yeah, baby. so we get to the point where Roland, because he's old as hell, he's about to die, and then he dies. And so the interviewees was like, we never thought he would die. We thought that he would just wake up and get up because we really believe this foolishness. They didn't say that, but I'm thinking it. Like, y'all really believe this foolishness. There's this old man that is deteriorating in your eyes, in front of your eyes, deteriorating. Fucking liver spots, old face, sagging, gray hair. He is deteriorating right in front of your eyes, and you don't think that he's gonna die. And so they are gagged. They was like, "Oh my God! So what's gonna be next?" And so, of course, Warren comes in and says, "Ah, I am Roland reincarnated." And he does all of these things, these little kind of smart things to position himself as the new prophet. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, this is why. Wasn't that sickening that all that fucking those people around the casket and all his wives in white around his casket? I was gagged. Anyway, so I was sitting there like, y'all gonna let them bamboozle y'all like this? Like, this man just died. He's dead. And y'all about to let somebody else bamboozle y'all into this position. A nigga that y'all was raised with. This ain't y'all know Warren ain't shit. Like, y'all been watching him be flirty and do all this kind of stuff and like be a human being. and and now that y'all gonna let him finagle y'all into fucking thinking he the new prophet, really? Come on now, y'all. But this is the fall. But this is This is the chink in the armor. This is what happens when you have these kind of crazy beliefs, because eventually, even if it's just time. So you got this man who's 85 who has been claiming himself to be the prophet for years and years and years. So of course, it you can rear this whole group into thinking that you're the prophet. But once you die, that is what brings into question in their mind. And that's why the next generation starts to be like, nah, I'm not fucking with this. They kept expecting Roland to wake up. They damn near didn't want them to close the casket. They thought he was gonna pop back up. How he gonna get out if we bury him? That's what that one girl said. I was so scared. How is he gonna get out of the casket if he wakes back up? He couldn't help that. His father chose him to replace his spirit in. But I'm talking about the onlookers. The onlookers. I expect Warren to want that position of power. I expect him to do that. I'm not him. I'm talking about the onlookers. I'm like, how you falling for this, yo? This man who said he wasn't gonna die finally just died. How you? And then this dude is saying now he's rolling incarnated, but you've been raised around this dude. You've seen this dude be a little kid, come out the pussy, and be a little asshole running around the place. And you think that the prophet went into him? This ain't, you get what I'm saying? It's not some new person. Ooh, you know what I'm saying? It'd be different if they didn't know this nigga. He came. Oh, I'm the new Roland. That would be more magical. This little badass little brat that y'all done seen grow up, that y'all don't like, y'all think him, y'all let him finagle you. He talk about I'm rolling and rolling is me. No, Warren, we know that's your little dusty ass, little counter tenor ass. We know that's you. But honey, they just went along with the story. And that was wild as hell to me. So he started to, he started to position himself as the leader. And he started to you know, make moves, which I think is, I don't want to say genius, that's not the word. Um, but I think this kind of finesse is kind of interesting. I'm like, y'all really y'all really be finessing people out here. And I'm too curious. I have always, even as a kid, I was kind of curious. Let's see. Just going through my notes. So, the reason why they're able to be silly and believe this stuff is that, look, from birth to adulthood, his followers instilled like a certain fear of not following whatever the latest message of God was, because he's positioned himself as the prophet. This is what God said to do, which is more or less focused on multiplying um, and women's submission. Like, really, all of their rules is based on multiplying and women's submission. That is really all it all is. You have to have multiple wives, have children, um, and women, you supposed to be modest and submit. Um, Everyone was to serve the community, and that includes the multiple girls, some of them 12, young as well, and women forced into these marriages. They were told to be subservient to their husband and create large families. That's the only job women have in this particular institution. But polygamy and child brides are illegal in the United States. So being that you're on this land, honey, motherfucker can come wear you out because these things are illegal. So he had to actually move the people to this outskirts of town, which, what was it called? I can't remember the place. Y'all remember the name of the place? What was the name? Short Ridge, or I don't know, I can't remember. He moved all his little people to the outskirts of the state. like on a state line, and they no, not El Dorado, not the one in Texas. I'm talking about before Texas. They moved them out. I'm talking about the one in Short Creek. Yes, there. So they moved them to this place called Short Creek, and Short Creek is far from like the main city of Salt Lake City, because they were all in Salt Lake, but they moved from Salt Lake to Short Creek. Um, and the reason why they did that was because they could create their own municipality, and their people can be the laws, their people can be the police, their people can be the judges, their people can be the people in power. And that's what it was for a very, very long time. They were like the police officers that worked there were a part of this cult. So there was nobody going to be turning in if some child got married at 12, married and pregnant at 12 years old. Right. Married and pregnant as at 12 years old. Nobody was going to snitch, because the police believe in this shit. They believe he the prophet. So why would I follow the laws of the land when I'm following the prophet, the God's messenger? So there was no way to kind of get them together about any of the wrong stuff that they were doing. And being that they weren't bothering anybody, you feel what I'm saying? Like bothering um at the outside world, nobody really was pressed to go fuck with them. Yes, he did this whole thing where he said if the Olympics came, that it would be the end of the world. The sign number two. Number two, that this nigga don't know what he's talking about. So number one was Roland dying. So this is bullshit. He died. Okay. Then okay, you believe that this little rugrat that's been running around now is incarnated Roland. Cool. He says that it's going to be the end of the world if the Olympics come. The Olympics come and goes. The world's on end. Bullshit lie number two. So ain't nobody connecting this. People are connecting it, but they're just going with the flow. To me, to me, this is like irrefutable proof that human beings need something to believe in. Like they need something to believe in. I always thought that it was strange to want to live like this. Like it, I don't know. It just feels weird. It feels super, super weird. The church always creates some reason why God changed his mind every single time. They didn't, how dumb he kept the girls was quite interesting. They didn't know even how sex worked. Like these girls, because they were taught to be modest and they weren't teaching about sex, they didn't even know how sex worked. They getting married to their husbands and not even having sex conversations. It was so wild, so crazy. So, so once the Olympic thing didn't happen, the good thing about that, he moved them to Short Creek because away from Salt Lake City to Short Creek. And so they started their own little town and their own little, like I said, their own little municipality. And it just started to work better for Warren because he had more control out there. Um, so what started to happen is reporters and investigators started to, oh no, he started to fuck up. Let me talk about this. I got to talk about this. Let me go to my Twitter. I'm sorry. Um, So remember Roland. So Roland had a balance. All right. Roland had a community balance that Warren did not. Come on, people. This is what I said on Twitter. I said, see, Warren fucked up the balance by removing the community elements of his teaching. Roland was giving the other men wives and giving them incentives to earn three wives, centering himself without the community element failing. Like nigga, Warren was kicking boys out and making them out of the community and making them homeless. Anybody who was like his competition or who he felt like wasn't, I don't know what the fuck his whole criteria was, but he started kicking boys out. And so because he was kicking boys out of the community, they would be homeless running around the street. And so, of course, that's gonna get all these homeless boys living in the fucking street, and how are what's happening? So, of course, that's gonna get attention to people, and the people are gonna tell them what's up, and that is to me that was the lead to his demise because Warren, instead of understanding community, I have to build this community. I can't throw people away. I mean, Roland was like, I can't throw people away. I know you can give to the community. I can give you something. He had some, he just the men had wives. He was giving them wives. He was he was setting it up to where anybody in the culture was gonna be, was gonna have their wives, and they were gonna constantly want to please him because they wanted to get their three. So long as he keep them with a one or keep them with a two, and they're bringing to the community, and then eventually he would bless them. It was good. But Warren, he was being stupid. He was being dumb and took that community building element out of the thing. He's harming people. He's kicking people out, making them homeless, forcing girls to marry people they don't want to marry, all that kind of stuff. So instead of kind of just cultivating a more community based rotation, he kicking people out. So of course that's going to be like um, getting rid of the younger lions would probably replace him. And the crazy part is Roland didn't have to worry about that because he was already blessing in a position where they can be in power and be a part of community. But eventually, in my mind, I think eventually, looking from the outside in, eventually that wasn't going to work because somebody is going to get to the point where somebody is just like y'all broke off from the Latter-day Saints and went your own way. There is going to be somebody that breaks off from you because that's human nature. If somebody is going to be discontent with the way this system is working for them, just like Roland and his crew did and broke off and said, we're going to be the fundamentalists, honey, because this ain't working for us. That's going to happen. But honey, he started kicking the little young trade out. And not just young men, he was kicking out established older men in the community after breaking up their families. That too. All this shit. At facts. You are totally right, Shanice. Absolutely. And so detectives start to come, news reporter get to investigating like what is happening. So now you bringing the outside eyes in to look. And of course, they seeing that y'all marrying these little girls. Y'all see that picture? It was later on in the series, but y'all see that picture of that little girl who looks like a little girl and she was pregnant. Did y'all see that? That was so sad to me. She was smiling and she was looking at the camera like this, but she had her baby bump and she looked like a little girl. I was like, oh, this is gross. She wasn't even looking like a young woman. She was looking like a little girl. I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh, this is so late. I was so annoyed by that. And think about the mindset of these young boys. We've been taught this, the only way to make it, only for you to be kicked out of your ass to fend for yourself with the Gentiles. And you be quickly ready to talk to the people about what's happening over there in the camp. Be quickly. You bitter now, you over it. So he starts to what really stood out for me is even from the first episode, these first-hand accounts of them having to sleep with Roland. Like, remember they say he peed on himself and they had to blow dry the where he had peed at, and then how the ladies, the girl, she said, "I was trying to do whatever to make him fall asleep, like rub his feet." Miss Thing said, "I tried to do whatever I could to make him fall asleep, to get him to not sleep with me, and it was working for so long." But shit, eventually he had to get me, my nigga. He had to get me. He had to get me. I said, "Ooh," mother was like, "Ooh," rubbing his feet like this. "Ooh, please go to sleep, please go to sleep." She said, "I didn't want him to touch me." She said, "I didn't want to touch him at all." And so then we get into let's get into the girls. So one of the standout girls to me was thank you thank you Burgundy. One of the standout girls to me was of course Ruby. So Ruby was the little girl who always she was like I've always been they didn't want you to have crushes on boys, but I had crushes on boys, my nigga. It was boys that I liked. She was like, it was, and then she started talking about this one named Joe. She was like, Joe was everything. He was so cute, and I just liked him. and then Joe, and then Joe was like, it took me forever to write her a letter, and so they sneaking off into the mountains, falling in love. And then so they asked Warren, who is he supposed to who is he supposed to marry? She wanted to marry Joe, and Joe wanted to marry her. But Warren was like, you supposed to marry somebody else, my nigga. And so, of course, you breaking up this young love where it's mutual, both of them love each other, you are going to cause a rift. And this is the I always make Game of Thrones references. But this is the brilliance of a wise leader. Remember, and this is I'm gonna say this knowing that it contradicts itself later on in the show. Remember how Tyrion Lannister, how Cersei was making these dumbass fucking decisions. Her son was doing all kind of crazy, stupid shit like cutting off Ned Stark's head, doing all this dumb shit. And Tyrion was like, I gotta come in and clean. You think you smart as you are, but you not fucking smart. I always gotta come in and clean up after yourself. I'm clean up after y'all. I gotta come in and make the different choices and build different alliances in order for us to be empowered. I have the wisdom to do this, and you do not. And so remember when he was talking to Cersei like that, and and that finesse is what Warren didn't have. Now, of course, that bites Tyrion in his ass because he didn't know that his son was going to be the one that was going to wear him out. Do you know what I'm saying? Because not Tyrion, is that his name? Tywin, not Tyrion. Tywin Lannister. Um, but he didn't know that Tyrion was going to wear him out as his son. Tywin had the wisdom to do all this kind of finessing, but he didn't understand that it's you not taking care of your relationship with your son would be the demise of you. That's where your wisdom gave you a blind spot. You let his not ailment, I don't want to call it an ailment. His what is it? What's a politically correct word? Um I don't know what the politically correct way to say it, but you let Tyrion's what is it? You let his abnormality. You let his abnormality because you hated him killing your wife. Um, no. I know it's called. I know that, but what's the general term for anything like that? Not disability because that's not a disability. I just say abnormality. Um, but yes, you let his abnormality blind you from your wisdom, blind you from the wisdom that you have in other areas of the world, other areas of of the society. You were finessing and wise and doing the right things to create these alignments and these um, alliances. And so, but this is what wears you out. That is what Warren did not have. He didn't have the finesse. He didn't have the finesse to control that Roland did. And so here you are. Let me cut this light down because I'm just making my nose itch. So so yeah, that's what Warren didn't have. Warren didn't have the finesse to be able to, and these is the moments that you got to know about, that you got to know to control a group of people. You can't be doing these things where they're telling you that we love each other. It would have been smart to let them get married, to let them um, get married. They would have stayed happy and faithful to you because the prophet blessed us to love each other. Do you see what I'm saying? They wouldn't have been kind of breaking up. It wouldn't have been. Imagine it just wouldn't have been all this kind of bullshit that happened if all of these people were, if you would have blessed all of these people in a way that made them happy. You fucking marrying her off too fucking young. You let them get older and mature and more invested in wanting a husband. You didn't realize that she hated this man that you were trying to get her to marry. She hated him. The girl with the blonde hair, I can't remember her name, but the girl with the blonde hair, she was like, the dude he was trying to get me to marry, I always hated him. He was mean. I didn't like him at all. There was nothing in that. Why would I need to marry him? No. But because you are too stupid and this egomaniac, you are not watching the relationship of people. And the finesse of a leader is who is going to meld better with each other. Joffrey. I don't know who Joffrey is. These people were hesitant to leave the fold, so he needed to give them something, and they would have stayed. Absolutely, they would have stayed happily. Letting them marry who they wanted to, it would be actually made them more invested in the scheme he had running. Exactly. Multiple things. And then paying attention to who would work better with each other. You get what I'm saying? Like these putting people who hate each other together, that is a powder keg of something happening. You need to, and then you as a leader should be and it might be too many people to actually do this for. Do you feel what I'm saying? But as a leader, you want to watch what's happening, um, to see who is the best, like who is the best connection, the best coupling, so that you can continue your stuff. They can continue to contribute to community, and they are happy. One of the things about her dad, who the the young girls, one of the girls who married Roland, that young girl that married, remember her dad only had two wives, and then when he married his daughter to Roland, Roland gave him another wife. That dad, it's like him. It's like you need to make he was the one who had the patents, who had the business, who had all these things. But because you gave him another wife and gave him his ticket into that upper echelon to heaven, he's happy. And you know what I'm saying? He's just doing what he's supposed to do because you're doing, he knew, Roland knew to, you gotta, his daddy had more finesse. Roland had more finesse than Warren. Warren was too megalomaniac, and he thinking throw everybody away, which I thought was this is the beginning of your demise. So he started to another thing, he wanted to another mistake, and somebody said this in the documentary. This was um the most integral mistake that he made. Moving to Texas. I could have told you that, baby. Warren, I could have told you that, baby. Moving to Texas was gonna be your downfall. Because Texas folk do not mind their business. Trading the girls right. Warren always had a wild look in his eyes. Just a creep. Warren looked like a regular nigga, white boy to me. Engineer dad was more than willing to give his daughter to that old man if it meant he got his trinity of wives. Absolutely. And he was teaching his wives to be subservient. He was doing his job as a father. And then you destroy him. That was crazy. Oh, this is another thing. This is another Siri Cersei type of situation. You're not smart enough to understand that wearing her father out is gonna harm her, even though she's married to you now. Wearing her father out is not gonna be good. She's gonna immediately try to leave this motherfucker. She's gonna try to leave. You wearing her father out? You the prophet, and you wearing her dad out, who she has raised and seen how loyal he is to you, and you wearing her daddy out, making him give you all his business and all that kind of stuff. I thought that was stupid. That was the dumbest thing. But he wasn't that smart, so you can kind of tell. It's part of him was smart because he evaded a little bit, but part of him was just dumb either. So he ended up moving. He would take the money from everybody investing in him as the prophet. He would take the money and he started building this compound in Texas. Oh, that was you knew that was the end, GG, during that time. That was the last it was stupid, but that was his last ditch effort to try to gain control. And that was, you don't, shame and harm never is going to give you long lasting power. That's never going to give you long lasting power. We have seen that in um multiple instances across the world in different circumstances. People, they will fear you and you can control them in for a little bit, but as soon as they get a chance or a light to lead them into betraying you and lead them into a better situation, or revenge, that's another thing. When you harm people, it plants a seed of revenge and disloyalty. That's what it is. And so, of course, these men who you done embarrassed and kicked them out and taken their wives, You got to understand the same motivations that you have wanting to have all these wives and be the man. These niggas got it too. So you got to feed their ego too, just like you feeding yours. These niggas that want 3 wives and husband and babies and houses, they have the same ego, patriarchal ego that you have. And if you destroy them, they are going to try to get you back. They're going to betray you. They're going to do whatever it is because men are not loyal to men in that way. when you are when you are taking away their ability to be the patriarchs and not giving them some type of little joy, oh my nigga, they will betray you real quick over some multiple pussy situations. I'm still confused on how they were feeding all the kids. Well, they were growing. They were had their own land and farms and stuff. They had tons of money and they were farming. And they weren't buying clothes. They were sewing and making their own clothes. They were living that kind of honey Amish lifestyle, baby. All them kids was free labor for the kids to farm. Yeah, that was their. It actually, if it, I, this is the thing about it. Have y'all watched The Vow? I talked about The Vow before. Have y'all watched The Vow? This documentary about this like little weird kind of. It's a cult too. Um, this is to that point, LeBeau. Um, when imagine, don't forget that they had free labor and they were able to get $1 million contract with Walmart, Amazon, exactly that too. Um, if these things weren't rooted in the evilness, right? If these things weren't rooted in the evilness, the evil concepts of oppression and not letting people be free. Sometimes I look at this shit and I'm like, this would really work. There was the vow was this it's like this dude who started to do this self-help stuff, but once they got to the upper echelon of the organization, he started turning them into sex slaves and shit. This is what I'm talking about. Like, what if he was a good dude and weren't trying to harm people and turn them into sex slaves? He literally built this whole organization around self-help and was teaching men how to treat women. And think about if this was a dude who had a good heart and who had good morals. And like literally, if you wasn't fucking branding them and turning to sex slaves, this really could have turned into a beautiful movement. But you're a fucking evil, fucking maniacal motherfucker. But some of these things be so beautiful. Like imagine if it wasn't rooted in oppression and they created this whole little world of a sustained community and they weren't forcing people to marry, forcing people to do this. It would be an actually beautiful situation. But it's always led by a mother. Even and let's bring it back out of we. This is white folks' business. This ain't no black folks in this situation. This is white folks' business. But let's bring it into the black business. Imagine the Nation of Islam. Like if Elijah wasn't fucking them young girls and getting them pregnant and kicking them out of the Nation of Islam back in the day, Malcolm X would not be dead right now. Malcolm X beginning to get away from the Nation of Islam was because he was finding out this man was fucking young girls and being immoral and kicking them out. And then when he turned away from them, they killed him. Imagine if this leader wasn't doing that type of shit, wasn't exploiting. I don't believe in everything, all the teachings of Nation of Islam. But imagine if that shit wasn't happening. Imagine if you was doing what you're supposed to do. There's enough evidence for people to know that it was Nation of Islam. It was enough evidence that it's enough evidence to point to who did it. It wasn't no fucking Farrakhan didn't have in the sense of individual Farrakhan. Farrakhan was a part of the Nation of Islam, and everybody knew this was what's going to happen. Farrakhan wasn't he was the next in line, but it was Malcolm X had already severed the relationship, so he didn't need to kill Malcolm X individually. The organization, Elijah Muhammad needed to set Malcolm X up, but Farrakhan didn't have to do anything. He was already the next in line on an individual level. Sex, temptation, abuse of power, just like Adam and Eve's story. Yeah, some of these like the vow. I was watching their teachings, and I was watching what they were doing to the men and the women, the positive stuff, and I was like, God, this is so brilliant. They were literally recruiting rich people to help them do their good work, and it was actually that part of it was like, God, this is really good shit. Like I was like, this is some good ass organizing. Like transferring resources and putting it into the positive. Definitely the vow remind me of Scientology. But all of these and Scientology, that's another thing. That is so many Leah Remini's um documentary and TV not TV series on Netflix um really goes into the details that even how they Scientology infiltrated Farrakhan's um, Nation of Islam situation. But if just imagine if it was rooted in some good shit, man. It would it. I think it would be beautiful. But it's always these fucking creepy ass leaders that wanna fucking be fucking creeps. All these quotes show that white people have too much money. That part, that part, that part. But we look at the black mega church culture. They got a lot of money too. Definitely. Their whiteness put them in a position to be able to kind of circumvent. Think about, imagine if some black people over here in some obscure part of any state started to build their own municipality, their own governance, their own police department. They would come wear that shit out so quick that their whiteness is what protected them from the bigger government whiteness. It didn't protect them all the way through because it was their demise, but their whiteness got them into that position of power to be able to do all this maneuvering around, the state. That was their whiteness. That was their white privilege being able to have them be able to do that without the white people coming bothering them, the government and shit like that. If it was some black shit, baby, we would not have had it would not have went that far. They would have came and said, break this shit up. That's how January 6th was able to happen. Absolutely. We never could do stuff like that. Never. And only how many people died in January 6th? That one white lady. Who else? How many did anybody else die on their side? That one white lady. I know the security officer did, right? I don't know how many people died, but I know if it was black folks doing that, multiple ones of us would have gotten shot. They would have called the motherfucking National Guard in there. It would have been a whole different scenario. At the White House, come on. When people in El Dorado said this won't be happening now, right? That reporter with the long hair and ponytail, he was getting on their damn nerves, baby. Popping up at their house, they like no comment. He was with their cameras coming in their motherfucking face. I was cracking up. He had me cracking up the whole damn time. They were and he was marrying his mom. Warren had married his mom. That was weird. Let's talk about how these creeps always want to keep evidence, and that is their demise. Okay, so let's get into that. That was the most unsurprising element of this. Oh, dude said, "Who married your mom, baby?" When he said that, I hollered, baby. When he had said that, I said, "Right." I cackled. But yes, but when you're in power and you feel untouchable, this is what it is. This is what they do. This is what they do. Baby, when they broke into that compound, not broke into, when they got the warrants and they was able to come in and they went into that house. Another thing that made me holler is when that man, when they said they had came in and got the warrant to come and search this place, and that dude ran out of the temple and got on his knees and was praying for them to get struck by lightning. I was cackling when they said the man ran and got on his knees and asked the Lord to destroy these people coming in this sacred church or whatever. And he was asking them to strike them by lightning, baby. I said, girl, it's over now. It's over now, baby. Once they got the warrant and coming in and searching, honey, it's over. Put a fork in it, baby. It's done. Baby, when they came up in there and there was that fucking white bed, I was like, he was in here really playing God with these people. He was really in here playing God. When he started telling them that they're going to go to Zion, and he was taking even more little kids. Oh, I was like, disgusting. And he had recordings of it, and they were standing around watching him have sex with these little girls as a fucking religious ritual. And then part of me was like, part of me was like, I don't want to say I felt sorry for him. I did not feel sorry for him. But he was raised in this too, y'all. This is what you got to understand. He was raised in this too, just like the rest of these motherfuckers. He just got in the position of the power. But imagine he not like one of the older cats who had other ways and other avenues to think of and exposure to the world. Remember, like a boy who had all the patents. He was a little boy that was raised in this to know that my father was a prophet. My father, this is my birthright. There's no other, there was no other way for him to think. It was, but how could he get there? Like how could like the girls and let's talk about we're gonna talk about this in a few minutes. Joe, how he sold out Ruby. I wanted to get on that, but I'll go back to it. Let me make this point. The girls, Ruby, the blonde haired girl, the guys, everybody he threw out, there was something, there was something that triggered them to go another direction. There was something that happened to trigger them to go another direction and be like, this is kind of bullshit. This ain't right. How could Warren have that trigger if he's the person that is the prophet, that is believed, that he done put it in his mind, his daddy has put it in his mind that he is the next person? How can he believe there's no moment that will have him switch up? I say this on a larger social level when it comes to white people. I say this too. They never have a moment where they need to switch up unless they're poor. But the rich people, a Warren Buffett, rich white, like the 1%. Yes. And you are solely protected from any kind of negative consequences. Like the 1%, they have no incentive at all. They can fly to a fucking island in the sun and not hear none. Y'all rebellion over George Floyd. I don't even need to watch this. I don't need to watch TV. I don't need to see this shit. I can go be on a beach in the Maldives and still be coined out and not worried about you. There's literally nothing that would cause them to shift. Do you see what I'm saying? There's literally nothing that will cause them to shift. And the same thing with Warren. Like he's the king of the mountain. Why would he give up that position? Why would he have a change of heart? Not only sometimes you have a change of heart because you this good person and you feel like, oh, this is wrong. But how can I think that this is wrong when I think that God ordained this for me? When I think the spiritual creator ordained this position for me, how can I undermine the creator? Like, what would give me that incentive? It doesn't make sense. The man was getting 300K delivered to him a week. There's literally no incentive for me to undo this. A week. And then we can take Joe and Ruby. Ruby told Joe, yo, he gonna make me marry this old man. Let's run away together. We both love each other. We know we do. We all that we know. So let's run away together. Let's just leave. Joe, being the man idiot, indoctrinated. Y'all just said indoctrination is a motherfucker. Indoctrinated into this. His heart is saying, God, I really love Ruby. I really like Ruby. And I know she loves me and I love her. But the indoctrination said, this is the prophet. And we got to do what he says do. That gagged me. And so he sells her out. Literally, fine. She gets a way to run away. She gets free a little bit. And he convinces her to come back. That's how vulnerable you are to niggas. This is why the whole submissive and dominant based relationships, I hate that shit. I hate the idea that my relationship needs to be based on a submissive and dominant dynamic or a leader and follower dynamic. Why does relationships have to be based in dominance and submission? That sounds like war. That sounds like some very patriarchal culture shit. Why does my relationship need to be based in dominance and submission? I never understand that. When I hear women, particularly the pick me's, I know the men is gonna run with this shit because they're the ones that is believed to be on top. I'm believed to be the leader. I need to lead the relationship. You need to be submissive. This is the way God had it. I don't expect them to give that up, y'all, because they're in the position of power. But when women are indoctrinated in shit, it gags me because they can lead you down a fucking rabbit hole, a ditch, a wrong, and then they won't take accountability for it. They can lead you to your demise when you give people that much power. They can lead you down the wrong path. Now look at all these people. Remember that woman who they had took her fucking kids and took them to Zion, and them kids didn't even know her, was scared of their own mama. These niggas is leading you to foolishness. And that's just not in this is a particular situation, but it's in other situations. They think their way is the way to go, and you're just supposed to follow them. That is a problem. They should be you all should be making decisions. You as a woman have a mind and a brain and a brilliance, and you should be. Didn't she have 8 kids in Zion? I don't know. I just remember the 2, but she could have had. They was popping out babies like it was no teeth. Um, she was one of the women that was standing in line to wait to kiss her husband. But I believe a relationship should be one person and one person coming together. This and if you poly, great, do your thing. It could be, but long as each individual person is a whole person to me. I'm a whole person, you a whole person. We are in a partnership. We are deciding to do this life thing together. There is no leader. You have the capacity to do certain things. I have the capacity to do certain things. We are come together with our strengths and weaknesses to do this life thing together. Both of our input is important. We both are trying to figure it out together. There is no leader. There is no dom and fem. There is no situation where I have to submit to you or you have to submit to me. We are both, because we supposed to love each other, we are both supposed to be looking out for each other's well-being, our safety, our security, our happiness. It is not, I'm following you because you have the right fucking way to go. Bitch, no. Or you following me because I have the right way to go. No. It's we are in a partnership. I don't understand why there needs to be somebody who is dominant. I don't understand that. That doesn't make sense to me. Why do I need to be the submissive? It's weird. And as a trans woman, motherfuckers will say, "Oh, that's just your man side coming out." That's what niggas will say. That's because you a man. You really a man on the inside. A woman naturally wants to be submissive. A woman naturally will want to be in the position where she's taking care of her husband, taking care of the family. That's what naturally you're supposed to want to do as a woman. And you don't have that natural inclination because you're not a woman. For real, for real. You doing all this dressing up in your dresses and putting on your wigs, and you masquerading as a woman, but naturally a woman wants to submit. A woman wants it. This is the kind of conversation. This is the kind of conversation that people will have with you about women and your dynamic of being a woman. Well, as a trans woman, this is what they try to tell us. Now, as a cisgender woman, if you don't have these feelings, which many of cisgender women don't have these feelings, you see what I'm saying? They don't want to be submissive. They want to be a whole person. Then they will try to tell them that is a masculine way of thinking. But because we are trans, they will tell us that it's because we were born men that we have it. But they can't say that to a cisgender woman, even though they having the same feelings, not wanting to submit, not feeling the need to submit. Yes, do I want to take care of you because I love you? Do I want to be sweet to you? Do I want to cook for you sometimes? Yes. Do I want you to cook for me sometimes? Yes. Do I want to do things that make your life easier because I love you? Absolutely. But I'm not doing that because some predetermined predestined fucking shit that says because I'm a woman I gotta submit and bow and upsert authority. I think that's what the scripture says. No woman should upsert authority over a man. And no, fuck that. I don't. That's not what I'm doing. I want to take care of you and cater to you because I love you and want you to be happy. But I want you to do that to me too. Ain't no way I should be going, particularly nowadays. Back in the day, dudes will, at least pay bills, get you a house, da 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 da. They don't want you to work and you sit in the house. I don't think that's right either. But at least back in the day, that's what they would do. They would take care of the financial stuff, and you sit at home and you do your thing, take care of the kids and da 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 da. But definitely nowadays, where that's not even economic for poor people, economically feasible for the woman to stay home. She has to work, and Black women have had this for all through this tradition. Black women has had to work, be maids, be servants, da 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 da. It's not even economically feasible. But you think I'm gonna you go to work and I go to work and I'm gonna bring my ass home and cook? And you've been here all day? Say you get off earlier than me. Your grown ass man with able bodies and legs sat here and didn't cook nothing just to wait for me to come home and cook for you? Because that's what the woman is supposed to do. And we both out here working? The fuck? How that makes sense? And that's crazy to me, especially now. This this documentary coming out at this time when American women's rights are being threatened by like a wide array of religious forces. So how extreme this kind of patriarchal power and exploitation can get, I think that this documentary shows that how crazy it can get, yo. He was fucking 12-year-olds, 12, 14-year-olds on a fucking altar, a white altar, while women was standing around him doing it. So weird. And they skip over the last part of the passage about men being responsible for their wives and family. That first part is real popular there. Absolutely. But also, the Bible says husbands should love their wives like the church, like Jesus loved the church. Like, skip that part too. and especially about parents too. They talk about honor thy mother and thy father, but also the Bible also say parents should not provoke their children. They ignore that. Anyway, I just find the submissive. I find the submissive. Oh, my eyes are burning. I find the submissive dominance dynamic very annoying. It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't want it. I want to be a whole person in a relationship. I don't want to be a sheep. I don't want to be a follower. I don't want to be the leader either. I don't want to. I want us to be equally yoked or balance each other out at some point. I'm a grown ass human being. You're a grown ass human being, and we are two grown ass human beings coming together doing this life thing together. That's what I want. I want you to respect my mind, me to respect your mind, me to respect your strength to do something, and you to respect my strength to do something. If I know that you are better at this particular situation, have at it, Hoss. Do it. Bam. But I want that same respect when I'm better at doing something. And I think there's a lot of dynamics in the Black community because of, let me see, how can I say this? In the same way with music, right? In the same way with music, jazz, and the history of Black music, hip hop, we had to always create our own culture of things because we were not invited into the bigger culture of, these what was deemed to be civilized art and civilized music, da 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 da. We were not invited into these spaces. So we had to create our own music, our own ways of doing certain things. So when we think of, and just in the realm of music, there's other ways, there are other things, other genres that we can think about too. But in the realm of music, we had to come up with hip hop, come up with jazz, come up with rock and roll. And of course, they come and take it once it get popular. But initially, the initial things of these being created, blues, it was our response to what was happening. It is why it has the soul that it does, because it has the passion of being the response to the oppression that is happening in the world, in our circumstance. Hip hop, blues, gospel. It has the passion because of the circumstances that we were in, right? But I think that translates in other areas of our life as Black people. Because of the circumstances that we're in, when we talk about not being involved in the mainstream social structure, and we have to figure it out and create our own ways to do things, Black women have never been able to be in the womanhood comfortably, like sitting comfortably in womanhood, and in that, and being treated like a woman, because they did not have access to that level of femininity because white women had that. And so, being that you don't have access to just be sitting on your ass eating bonbons, being taken care of, they literally was telling white men that they could fuck and have sex with the Black women to keep the purity and chastity of white women. So they literally wasn't, there was literally rapes not happening to white women because they were happening to Black women. And I'm not talking about rapes like in the this was happening during the slavery time, but I'm talking about when we were out of slavery. They literally was teaching their boys to have, because of Black women were seen as a sexual object. These are the ones on a religious level. These are the ones that you have sex with. These are the ones you do all the nasty gutter butt stuff with. You keep your wife and the white woman pure and chaste. You only have sex with her to procreate. So literally, these bitches, not saying that none of them were getting raped. I'm not saying that. But the culture was teaching their boys to keep them pure and chaste. So literally, because of that teaching, there was white women not being protected. I mean, not being exposed exposed to rapes and sexual mistreatment because the indoctrination was we got to keep them pure and chaste so they can be good wives and get good mistresses of the house. You do that nasty shit to the slave, to the black women. And then black men don't have the power to protect us. So when we get in the house, okay, when we get in the privacy of our own house, you cannot try to act like you this white man because you don't have that power over me. And I'm not going to let you have that power over me. You don't have the power of this white man. So you trying to come and bring that white people structure of living in my house, you got me fucked up. And that creates a circumstance of power dynamic that's different than white people. I know black dudes be trying to mimic white people, but that's just not going to happen. That's why we have the feistiness that we have in us. And that's why they have the manipulative nature. White women's power come through their manipulation and their use of their sexual being to be able to navigate the world, to get power from these niggas. They are in the circles to get that power. We were not. That's why they use their tears and emotionality and body and da to get where they need to go. That's why they passing each other around. We didn't have that luxury. When things shifted, yes, we started to be able to use that in our favor. Remember the interview with the black Playboy bunny versus the white Playboy bunny in the Cosby doc. This reminds me of that. Exactly that. Exactly that. There was just a way that we could not move as black women. We could not move in that way. We had to figure out a way to move that was aligned with our circumstances. And if that circumstances continue over the centuries, you know what it's going to turn into? It turns into what you see today, that this stereotype that, they try to make seem like it's bad, the feisty, strong black woman who don't know how to submit. We didn't have to submit because, nigga, you didn't have the power that the white man had. Why? How I'm gonna fucking submit to you and this white motherfucker can come in and take my whole kids and take and rape me and do all the kind of bad shit? How the fuck I'm gonna submit to you? The dynamic wasn't the same with white women. This nigga had the power, so they had to submit. So they're trained to submit. That's why black boys is like, ooh, let me get with the white girls. Let me get the they're so submissive. The white, all these other women had their, and this is just, I'm just keeping it real. And I'm talking about the Black American experience. If you talk about Africans, the men had power over there. The one that stays over there, there was kings and queens that stayed over there that didn't get trafficked in the slave trade. They had power over there. So the women that stayed over there, they were able to submit to them. Asian women, they had dynasties and kings and They were able to submit to them because the men had power over there. You know how the European monarchy have. The white people, they had power. Down here in Mexico and South America, they had fucking kings and queens and chiefs and shit. The men had power. But as unique to the Black American experience, y'all motherfuckers didn't have power. And we understand. We understand the dynamic. But why are we going to submit to that? And so here come the black church, because we talk about religion because this. Here come the black church trying to mimic the power of the white church. And so they create rules in their church, governance rules that put women as a second class citizen. So we started to see how they were treating their white women over here in the white church in our church, even though black women have been preaching and bring and remember in Beloved when Baby Suge would take the kids out into the forest and preach to them. Toni Morrison's Beloved. Women were already in a position of power, in a position of powerful resistance. Harriet Tubman. Women were already in this thing. And black men were undermining that power, using religion as a way to undermine it. You can't preach. Only men can preach. You cannot be in the pulpit. So we never had the luxury. We always had to fight. We always had to show up in the world in a different way, a more protective way, a more defensive way, because we didn't have nobody to protect us. Not that they didn't try. I don't want to give that implication. They just didn't have the power to not try. So I just don't. It's just the submissive thing. Just irks the fuck out of me. It's it's one of when you as a trans woman, the one of the things that the undercurrent theme is that you became a woman, okay, and so they don't understand how you can become a woman and give up the privileges that are your birthright as a male being. Like in this world, as a male being, you were supposed to grow up and want this. You were supposed to, you was a boy, so we were trying to raise you to grow up and want this, whatever this shit, the spoils and privileges of being a man. You were supposed to want this. And then you fully reject it and want to become a woman. What? How does that make sense? And then you as a being come in and you like, okay, now this is what I feel. This is what I feel like this is who I am. And so now I got to inherit whatever comes along with womanhood, which is fine because it's my identity. But now I have to examine what's happening over here. Oh, I see. And as I be in around my 30s, like early 30s, like late 20s, early 30s, that's when I had to, as a trans woman. Now, I'm not, this is my experience. I'm not talking about nobody else. So I don't know other trans women, but I'm talking about me. From 13 to 20, late 20s, I don't know when it exactly what year it shifted, but late 20s, between 26 and 29, I was trying to plant myself in my womanhood in a way that felt respectful to me, but for other people to acknowledge it too. So I wanted the physical changes, I wanted the social changes, I wanted the name changes, I wanted the respect of the womanhood that I wanted, that I felt like was, this is where I'm not supposed to be who y'all thought I was supposed to be. I'm not supposed to be a man. No. This is where I'm supposed to be. So my whole life, once I decided that this is the path that I'm going to go in, my whole life revolved around establishing that respect, that dignity, that humanity as a woman. Okay? And so I am not somebody who exempt to the world around me. I'm not disconnected from the world around me. So there is a way that womanhood is performed in the world around me. that affects how I think about womanhood. That does not come from nature. Okay? We keeping it real. Y'all know I'll keep it real with y'all. My need to be a woman came from nature. But how I perform my womanhood did not come from nature, baby. How I perform it is what I learned around me. That's why this whole nature versus nurture thing is not doesn't work for me, because I think it's both. I think there is a natural inclination in me that I was born with that I couldn't control, natural inclination in me to go to the girls, to go to the girl side, to be a girl, to be a natural. I cannot control it. It is something that I have thought about for my whole life, from the time that I can think about gender, and that starts between 3 and 5. I did not connect to my boyhood. I know people are telling me that I'm a boy, okay? I know what they're telling me, but it's not, I'm not, I'm like, okay, but this doesn't feel authentic to who I am. Once I got started to grow and learn that I actually can, I can actually flip this shit. I don't know exactly all the details of how, but I'm getting glimpse of certain things that says I can flip this shit. I don't know about surgeries yet. I don't know about, but I'm seeing people. I remember at 5 years old, not 5, about 6. My mama was walking down the street and this drag queen came up and started talking to her. And she was covering up my eyes, my mother was, and trying to put my body behind her so she couldn't see. But my mother was talking to her and like in a friendly manner. So I know they knew each other. And so, but my mother was trying to hide me from looking at her. And I don't know if she was a drag queen. I don't know what she was, but I know that this is the first time I recognize that this is not somebody who was born a girl. And I see my mother trying to stop me from seeing her. And I'm peeking around my mother's body, looking like, God, her voice is deep. I think that's a boy. But she's dressed in girl clothes and she got on makeup and she got on this hair. And in my brain, I'm like, what is this? I can't say that I had some analysis about it because I was 5. I didn't have no analysis, but I knew for a fact that that wasn't a girl. You get what I'm saying? In my little 5-year-old brain, 5, 6-year-old brain, I knew that this wasn't somebody born a girl. So that was the first thing I remember of my oldest memory. Then 92, Althea Garrison, trans woman in Boston, Massachusetts, get exposed by the Boston Globe. I was living in Boston at the time. I was 11. When they exposed her and they were talking about it on a bus stop. We were living in a shelter and they were talking about her using to be a man. She used to be a man, da da da, all this kind of stuff. And I was like, so she's not a boy anymore. She's being a girl. So these things in my little brain are these little flickers of light of that I can flip this shit. And so when by the time I get to 12, 13 and I'm like, oh, I can literally flip this shit. And I started to flip it. Then it's like, what is the girls around you doing? That part is unnatural. That's the part that said, that's the part that's just based on culture, based on what I see. Does girls have long hair? Yes. I'm a black girl, so I was perming my hair, growing my hair out, doing the things that black women do. So do y'all get the difference? I want to make that clear. Do y'all get the difference of what part is the natural part and what part is the nurture part? The natural being the feeling, the disconnect that's pushing me towards this and not towards this. But the nurture is me seeing how women maneuver in the world and me mimicking that, whether it be hair, how I dress, how I walk, how I talk, da 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 da. But I want y'all to clock this. We all do that. That's not exclusive to transness. How you, if you're a cisgender woman, how you perform your womanhood is how you were taught to perform your womanhood. If you are a cisgender man, if you are a man, you are performing your manhood how you were taught to perform your manhood. Okay? And those things that make you different, like if you are a feminine man, don't align with the stuff that you were taught. Do you see what I'm saying? Okay, so like, yes, you might get your hair cut, you might wear your suits, you might do da 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 da, but you might got a little switch that's more aligned to the women's side. You see what I'm saying? But you still a man. You still want to be a man. You still performing certain manhood things, but something don't align, and so you have some things that are a little bit more feminine, and vice versa with the masculine, with women who are masculine and perform their gender in a more masculine way. That's when these things start to happen. That's when these outside world things start to play into how you perform your gender. That's not exclusive to trans people. We all are performing our gender, how we are taught to perform it. And like a singer, we are taught to sing a certain way. Country girls, that's why they say, well, I've been afraid of changes because I build my life around you. They have that little twang. I can't do it as good as them, but they have that little country twang. It's a certain way you sing country. It's a certain way you sing gospel. As a Black gospel person, it is a certain way you sing gospel that you are taught. Your natural talent of a singer is natural. It's how your throat is made, how the biology of your throat, how your throat is made, the wideness of it, the longness of your neck, the whole physical structure. Those things are natural. Your natural ability to hear, to be in tune, those things are natural. Some of those things you cannot train. Some of these things are natural, but there are things that you can train. If you grew up in the church, you learn how to do runs, learn how to do power. You learn how to do these things, these gospel-y things. But if you grew up in a Presbyterian church, how you sing is not going to be how you sing if you went to a Black Baptist church, right? There is certain things that you learn. It is the same concept when it comes to gender. I'm just giving you an analogy to try to get it. There are some natural elements, and then there are some elements that you learn. Got it? Does that analogy make sense? Like how my mama and daddy gave me the actual physical structure of my throat. Okay? I didn't control how long my neck is, how tight my vocal cords are, or how big my lungs can get to control the air that makes the sound that comes out. I can't control that part. That's just natural. So there's a reason why Anita Baker and Sade have and Tony Braxton have a particular tone of voice because of the natural structure of their voice. But how they use the voice can be trained by their upbringing, trained by what church they went to, trained by whatever. Anita Baker would have the same structure, but if she grew up in a Presbyterian church or she grew up listening to country music, how she sings would be totally different. And that's how gender is. There is a natural inclination for me to be a girl, or you to be a girl, or you to be a boy, or any of that, whatever gender your physical self and brain and body aligns with. And then as you get in the world, you learn how to perform that gender. what kind of woman you want to meet. I never wanted to be the Kate Moss, skinny, no booty having, shaped like a fucking teenage boy kind of girl that was popular at the time that I grew up. That early 90s supermodel, skinny, waif body. That's not the culture I came up in. I came up in the culture where ass, thighs, and body was seen as great. You know, the video vixen era, um, Buffy the Body, Melissa Ford. Um, it was a culture that was happening in the Black culture that said womanhood actually looks like this, and that supermodel stuff is the mainstream, but that wasn't what my culture, the urban Black culture, saw as the woman's body, as the ideal woman's body. In my culture, the ideal woman's bodies was right legs and hips and body, right. It was thighs. No, it wasn't fat. There was fat phobia. Definitely, you weren't supposed to be fat, but thickness, big legs, hips, thighs, booty, big titties, little waist, flat stomach. Yes. But yes, that is how you perform. That the gender stuff is how I think that I wouldn't. I'm going in a tangent about this because as I got into my 30s and into my you know when I was coming into my 30s, I realized this was all bullshit. And there is I could be whatever kind of woman that I wanted to be. I didn't have to be this hyper femme. And and you know what? We all, not all of us, I won't say we all. That's no, that's not we all. But a lot of us go through this, cisgender or trans. We are taught to perform gender a certain way, and then we reject it. And then we say, no, I actually can be this type of woman. I don't need to be this hyper femme woman to attract a man. I can be a tomboy. I can be whatever and still be straight and still be whatever. We, as we get older, we learn that the social construct that is the performance of gender in the social contract that we live in the context of what we live in, we can actually do this how we want to do it. And I think it's inevitable over time. Now, there's some people who kind of sticks to it when they don't have a mind that's like when they have a sheep mind, when they have a follower's mind. Some of people just stick to what they know. They don't try to because most people is going to go the path of the least resistance. And so if this is what I learned to do, this is what I'm going to do. But it is some of us who just I can't be comfortable with that. And I think that's what happens in multiple religions, going back to the subject of this documentary. That's what happens in multiple religions. What we are seeing in this documentary is people coming up against this man-made religion. And this is not exclusive to the fundamentalist Latter-day Saints. This is all these other mainstream religions that now we demonize them because they're doing this weird polygamy and women oppression. But there's women oppression in all the other stuff. Be very clear. It may not be that extreme, but it's extreme in other ways. And so what we are seeing is these women who they made second class citizens. These women who they said that they didn't expose to anything but their own culture, who didn't know shit. You feel me? Who didn't know shit. The irony of this whole show is this series largely focused on women who, despite totally lacking knowledge of the outside world, they were able to manage to undermine this fucking cult. And so my takeaway from this fucking whole thing was that as soon as we get a glimpse, soon as we get a glimpse, we don't have to know everything. But as soon as we get a glimpse to buck up against the system of oppression and system of patriarchal um, rule, and it's not what we want, we can tear this whole motherfucker down. Look at what these ladies did. Are they still continue to go? Yes, but they can't go on the way they were going. Do you see what I'm saying? They kind of in different branches now, but they can't go on the way they went before when Warren was in charge. They can't go on like that because too much have shifted. Too many things have been undermined in their belief for it to go on. Now, of course, folks gonna try to make it happen, but they are not moving and maneuvering the same way that Warren was with that level of power. And so, what it taught me watching this is that look at how they got supported. The girls who were getting free, how they got supported, and when these detectives and the police and all these people really actually listen to what's going on and pay attention, they actually can come in and buck it up and help them to tear this shit down. But yes, all it takes is a glimpse of freedom and you going after it and your community supporting you. I don't want to say it's just you by yourself because sometimes they can destroy you. If it's you by yourself, they can destroy you. They can kill you, they can hang you, bury you, and nobody will fucking even know if you by yourself. But when you have a community behind you, when you have people behind you and supporting you that can protect you from whatever harm they might bring you, you can tear this whole motherfucker down. You there's levels where you just got to start the spark. But I think that's what we're seeing is these multiple sparks happening. What we're seeing in the culture now, and I'm taking we're talking about this in the context of this one, obscure occult thing. But this what we see in the example of them is that how it can be done on the bigger scale. There are all these sparks happening now, and they're responding to it. You get what I'm saying? They're responding to it. January 6th, and they're responding to these sparks. But the best way for us to go forward, if we want to dismantle all this shit, is to support the people who are bucking up against the system, and as a community, start bucking up against the system. Period. The support community is vital. Absolutely. Because if you're alone, that it's more likely that they can destroy you and get rid of you. Hmm. But yes, if you have not watched Sweet, Keep Sweet, Pray and Obey, check it out. I think it's a really, really good. I think they really did a good job. Um, it's like Our Fathers. There's a documentary on Netflix called Our Fathers. We've talked about that already, but I think these are really, really good examples of how white patriarchy, white supremacy. Because if you look at Keep Sweet, there was no black people in the fold. So being that there's no black people within it's tons of black men that would love to come and get all three wives and da da da. But there's a reason why there was no black people in these ranks because they are racist and there is racist teachings in the Latter-day Saints Church. There's racist teachings. They believe in that purity, that white purity stuff. And so bringing black people into the fold would taint the blood, would taint the bloodline. Did you know? that the little girl that was a little black girl, and Netflix switched the rights. Did they? Why? Really? Link me to that. Why did that? Why would they do that? Especially knowing that that it's public knowledge. That would be stupid and just asking for people to fucking read you. I did not know that. But that's all I got to talk about. A VIP section in heaven, yes. Color people, no. Definitely comical. Mm, mm-mm. So happy Father's Day weekend to all the great fathers and all the stepfathers and the mothers doing a great job in creating healthy men in the world despite the absentees. And shout out to the birthing daddies, the trans men who are daddies now. And shout out to Nick Cannon becoming more and more of a daddy every month. Shout out to Russell Simmons taking care of whack ass niggas' babies and loving his woman while doing it. Shout out to those fathers. Shout out to father figures, all those kind of things. If you in the neighborhood and you being a father figure, Russell Wilson, yes, I said Simmons, definitely not Simmons. Sorry, correction, definitely not Simmons. His raping self, no. But he is a good father to his girls. It's the other girls that he rapes. So yes, Russell Wilson, definitely. Father figures, if you're in the neighborhood and you are father figure to people, to sons and daughters that are, you know, fatherless, and you step up and do your part. Shout out to you. I know that the fathers that are just doing what they're supposed to do want to get cookies, and that's okay. They should get cookies today. This is their day. Because now I'm wondering if it was even an accident. Yeah, I don't even know, child. That's wild. Mm. I just don't know why they would do that if it can be proved that she wasn't black. I mean that she wasn't white. That's so weird. I don't even remember the race of them saying the race of the girl. I don't remember them saying that she was white. I don't I didn't really I don't want to say I didn't pay attention to that part. I just remember him getting. It's like the idea of him getting off on killing the baby because of his status in community. That was the gag part, but I didn't know that they had indicated what race she was. They showed a little white girl, but read the article in the link above. Oh, I see. I see. I didn't even notice the reenactment of a white girl, wasn't it? Oh, gotcha. I didn't know that. I wonder why that decision was made. Or the white people who created because they don't see race and don't see color, they didn't feel that was important. I could see that happening. Like we can just hire anybody, any actress. It doesn't really matter. You see what I'm saying? I can see some white people making that decision. Just pick anybody because it's not important. But all right, y'all, I gotta give me something to eat because I gotta record um March's play in about 30 minutes. So I will chat with y'all later. We do have new episodes of Marsha's Place up, the video portion up on in the members only section. Um, what is happening? I will be in New York, not this weekend, but next weekend. I'll fly. I think I'll fly out on Thursday. Yes, I will be in New York Thursday night until Monday night. I fly back Monday. And so, but when a black actor get a sci-fi role, they lose our shit. Right. Or yes, honey, Mother Haley, the mermaid, the fictional character can't be black. Get out of here. Um, but yes, I'll be in New York from Thursday until next Monday. So if you are in New York, hit me up. Maybe you can meet me at one of the events and we can kiki. What is going on in New York? What is going on? You know, it's Pride Week, so all the Pride festivities is happening, doing all that. So the march and all that. So that's what I'm there for. I got hired to host an event, so I will be hosting that event. But the rest of the time, y'all know I don't really do pride. I do pride in the sense of, you know, I'm prideful and talk about pride, da, da, da. But actually going to pride marches, I haven't done that in years. That never has been my ministry. And with all these mass shootings, I'm not really for sure if it's safe. It makes me think like, I don't know. Happy birthday, Gigi. And it's too hot. That too. Now I can be comfortable, put on a bikini top and ow. But I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna be at all the pride stuff. Inside with some air conditioning, yeah, that sounds loud. But all right, y'all. I will talk to y'all probably not next Friday because I will be flying. Um, but I'll find some time to kiki with y'all. Yes, enjoy your Juneteenth. Love being black if you are black. Um, hang out with some black folks, do some black ass shit, and love on your people, love on your community, love on yourself. It is Juneteenth. We are here because of the survival of our ancestors, not because of their weakness, but because of their strength and will to survive and deal with the bullshit that they dealt with in order for us to be here now free. So I know a lot of sometimes the elements make it seem like, oh, they were weak and why they didn't fight back. They had the will to survive. and we are here because of that will. So respect that, respect their sacrifice, and honor them. Whatever kind of food you eat, some libations, put it out for your ancestors to get the energy from. Um, Pour the little liquor out if you got some gin or some rum, whatever. Pour a little liquor out on on the soil. Um, Put your own feet in the soil and um, thank the ancestors for the energy. Your bare feet, like the bottoms of your feet, in the soil, in the grass. Plant it on the floor, and give ancestors thanks and revere them and appreciate them because you would not be here without their sacrifice. So yes, 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 yes. Honor your people and honor yourself. You are here. You are the legacy. Take care of your body. Do some spiritual baths. And that could mean just being in the bathtub, resting and relaxing and praying and washing the negative energy, washing any kind of curses, watching anything, all that kind of stuff. Watching that cleaning away from your body and away from your mind. So yes, honor your people. Happy Juneteenth. And yeah, I will see y'all.